a sudden, Donald Trump seems to be very cozy with some Democrats, specifically Democratic leadership like Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. In fact, just yesterday, he announced that he came to a, negotiation or a deal with the Democrats in regard to DACA and what to do moving forward. And of course, Republicans are furious about this, including his base. Now, why? Why is he working with Democrats all of a sudden? Well, here's the official reason that he gave. Take a look.
What do you say to Republicans who are looking at your outreach to Democrats and saying, what's going on here?
I'm a Republican through and through, but I'm also finding that sometimes to get things through, it's not working that way. And, we got very poorly treated on the health care plan, and now you see what's happening where people are going single payer, exactly what I said would happen. And single payer would be a terrible thing for our country. But we have to get things passed. And if we can't get things passed, then we have to go a different route.
Okay, so that sounds like, all right, he's frustrated with Republicans, but maybe he's realizing in order to get things done, you have to reach across the aisle. You need to actually negotiate and come up with deals that way. But no, it turns out that he's actually pretty furious with Republicans who refuse to agree with him or Republicans who just aren't afraid of him. Republicans like Senator Susan Collins, who refused to vote in favor of repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act. John McCain, who refused to vote in favor of the Republican plan to replace the Affordable Care Act. And so we have those little tidbits. And then Robert Costa all of a sudden tweets something that I think is very relevant to this story. He also pointed to a June 27th Washington Post article he co-wrote, which Trump apparently hated. And the title of that was, "Who's Afraid of Trump? Not Enough Republicans, at least for now."
Okay, so let's break this down. He's a child. So look, if you're a Republican, hear me out. So and let me give credit to a Fox News host, Chris Wallace. And I saw him say this, and it was a really good point. He's like, look, if he's trying to put pressure on the Republicans, hey, you better do a deal with me, otherwise I'm gonna go to the Democrats and do a deal with them. He's like, okay, there's some logic in it. And I agree with that. I believe in playing hardball in politics. He said, but to what end? Great question. Okay, so think it through. So if you say, hey, Trump is saying, hey, if you're asking for too much in tax cuts, Republicans, I'm gonna go strike a deal with the conservative Democrats. I'm still gonna get tax cuts, but I'm gonna get 2 trillion in tax cuts instead of the 7 trillion you're asking for, because I can't pass the 7 trillion because you're being unreasonable. So I'm gonna do this instead, and I'm gonna get something accomplished. Okay, that would be a fair way to do it. I think that makes sense. Now, I would hate that. I don't want the conservative Democrats to work with him. I don't want any tax cuts, but I would understand that strategy. But instead here, he's saying, oh yeah, Republicans, I'm mad at you. Why aren't you just scared of me? So I'm gonna go work with the Democrats and I'm gonna pass their priorities. Now, I'm very happy about that. Okay, good, keep the dreamers in the country and don't build a wall. I'm thrilled with that conclusion. But to what end? What did you accomplish? So he has no ideology.
No ideology.
Yes.
He has no principles.
Yes.
He doesn't care.
Yes.
So if you say to him, kick out all the dreamers, keep all the dreamers, he is indifferent. So he's like, I just want to make a deal. Who am I making a deal with? And who's fluffing me and who's not fluffing me? Oh, you guys aren't scared of me. Oh, Chuck, come on, Chuck and Nancy, right? That's who Donald Trump is. So we already knew that. And if you're a right winger, welcome to reality. It has a way of catching up with you. That's who Donald Trump is.
And look, there are people on the right who supported him vehemently, and now all of a sudden they are not so supportive. Ann Coulter wrote an entire book about how much she trusts him.
The title was "In Trump We Trust."
Yeah, that's exactly right. And it didn't work out so well. And I was curious what some of the somewhat reasonable people on the right are thinking about what's going on. So I listened to Ben Shapiro's podcast on this issue, DACA specifically. And he actually made a lot of great points that I think some people on the right do subscribe to. Again, he doesn't have an ideology. He was a registered Democrat for decades. And then he's running as a Republican, but who is he really loyal to? Has he ever proven that he has thought through any of his positions, ever? Has he ever proven that he's thought through a tweet before he's tweeted it? He doesn't think through anything. To him, this was a power game, right? A power game that could potentially help him pay back some money that he owes to Russia, right? Now that's a little bit of speculation, let's keep it real. But this was never about caring about the American people or passing policies that he believes in and is principled in. It's about power. And so he will go back and forth, and he is a wild card. We said it during the election, and he has proven to be a wild card. And if some Republicans were upset before, they will continue to get even more upset as he continues to throw some of them under the bus just so he can maintain his power.
And he didn't change his principles. He never had any to begin with. And so if you thought he was your friend, and a lot of people thought that right before they found themselves on the underside of a bus.
Jeff Sessions.
Yeah.
He thought he was their friend.
Yeah. Yep. And now he's against Sessions and Steve King and Ann Coulter, and now Breitbart's calling him Amnesty Don. And the reason for that is he's like, well, it was evident that all I cared about was my ego, and now the Democrats are stroking my ego and you're not. So sad day for you. If you like this video, you probably like independent media. The best way to support independent media, become a member of the Young Turks. TYTnetwork.com/join.